deja vu is actually a glitch in reality. It indicates that something has been changed. Someone or something has ceased to exist. All memories and records of their existence erased forever. A deja vu happens when they get into your brain. They need to change your memories. Maybe to erase your brother from the world. You know. That brother you never had. Dubbed the Rain Boy in 1983, Donnie Decker was visiting his friend's house when he abruptly went into a trance-like state. Immediately after, the ceiling began to drip water and a mist filled the room. His friends immediately called on the landlord, who was alarmed by what he was seeing. Sometime later, Donnie was at a restaurant with other companions when rain started pouring down their heads. The restaurant owner immediately forced him out. Years later, due to a petty crime, Donnie was put into jail where he caused chaos when rain started to pour down in his cell. After angry inmates complained, Donnie explained that he could make it rain when he wanted it to, and proved his point by dumping rain on a jailer on duty. Eventually, he was released from jail and found a job as a cook at a local restaurant. His present whereabouts is unknown, as is the cause of the mysterious rain. Edward Mordrake, the man with two faces, was said to be from a wealthy British family in the 1800s. His other face could not talk or eat, but it was said to sneer when Edward was upset. Edward claimed the face whispered horrible things to him at night and begged doctors to remove it. He committed suicide at age 23 and left a note that the demon head should be removed before his burial. Hello there. It's funny how after all this time I still don't know your name, but it does not matter anyway, as long as I know you. Yeah, I know you seem confused right now. I know you enough to tell this message will give you a reaction like that, but you shouldn't be. Well, at least not for long. You see, I was with you this whole time. I was right next to you for the last few years or so. I was watching you sleep, heard you talk with your friends, and I know what you had for lunch any day. You almost saw me quite a few times. I had to hide from you a lot. You know, that time when you felt someone behind you, and just as you turned around to look, no one was there? Well, there was. You only didn't see me. As I was watching you, I realized that you are actually a good person, and I grew quite fond of you, and for the last few days I was trying to find a way to talk to you, but I know you would be afraid when you hear my voice. Just like last time. Instead, I got a better idea. I saw you using this device quite a lot, and I saw you, visit a website like this. So, I wrote this message to you, hoping you would read it one day. Now that you are reading it, if I told you what I wanted to tell you, I think now you'd be prepared enough to see me. We can finally be friends. I will show my face to you tonight. There was an old lady who lived on her own in a very foggy part of Dartmoor. She had a passion for jigsaw puzzles. Every night, she would sit at her dining room table and work on her current jigsaw puzzle until it was finished. Then she would start a new one. One day, after finding out she had run out of puzzles, she had planned to go to bed early, when a parcel showed up on her front doorstep. She picked up the package and opened it to find a new puzzle. It took her about an hour to complete it, but as she began to get the entire picture, her concentration grew, for she saw that the picture being made up was that of the very room in which she now sat. Then she gasped, for she realized that the woman sitting at the table in the picture with her back to the window was a picture of her. Her fingers trembled as she placed the last 4 pieces of the puzzle to reveal a picture of a crazed madman at the window, staring into the room, holding an axe. Just tell yourself that not just anyone becomes a psychopath. Just tell yourself that it's only a certain kind of person who becomes a killer, and that those close to you are not, and will never be that kind. Just tell yourself that you and those close to you are somehow better than those who openly struggle with mental illness. Just tell yourself that you and those close to you are somehow superior to them, that those close to you do not and never will have psychopathy, sociopathy, or any such condition. Just tell yourself that a devil will never seize anyone close to you. Just tell yourself that it's not possible a devil could enter one of those closest to you and make him or her his plaything. Just tell yourself that none of those that you've laughed with, hung out with, and exchanged presents with could ever be revealed as a killer. Just tell yourself that there's absolutely zero chance that you'll ever have to look in the eyes of one of those closest to you and discover that he or she had become a monster. Just tell yourself, and try to delude yourself into thinking that's all true. This tunnel was built in 1927. Its length is 444 meters, 4 being a cursed number like 13 for Western people. This tunnel has been haunted by all the workers who died while building it under harsh work conditions, like slaves, and those who died in the tunnel because of them. It is said that ghosts can be seen in this tunnel at night. They can even get in your car and scare the shit out of you, leading to an accident. There is a mirror in the tunnel. If you look at it and see a ghost, you will die a horrible death. The length of the tunnel can vary depending on whether you measure it at night or at daytime. There was a hunter in the woods who, after a long day of hunting, was in the middle of an immense forest. It was getting dark, and having lost his bearings, he decided to head in one direction until he was clear of the increasingly oppressive foliage. After what seemed to be like hours, he came across a cabin in a small clearing. Realizing how dark it had grown, he decided to see if he could stay there for the night. He approached and found the door ajar. Nobody was inside. The hunter flopped down on the single bed inside to explain himself to the owner in the morning. As he looked around, he was surprised to see the walls adorned by many portraits, all painted in incredible detail. Without exception, they appeared to be staring down at him. Their features twisted into looks of hatred. Staring back, he grew increasingly uncomfortable. Making a concerted effort to ignore the many hateful faces, he turned to face the wall, and exhausted, he fell into restless sleep. Face down in an unfamiliar bed, he turned blinking in unexpected sunlight. Looking up, he discovered that the cabin had no portraits, only windows. Try this. Turn off the music. Turn off the TV. If you have to, turn off the computer. Then go to another room and sit in total silence. Do you hear that? That ringing? People say it is your brain making up a sound to explain the silence. People lied. I can't tell you what is making that sound, but whatever it is, you don't want to meet it. It's trying to break through, force its way onto our plane of existence. Now try this. Repeat the first steps. Turn everything off. This time, turn the lights off too. Still hear that ringing? Better hope you do. If you don't, it's because they have finally managed to break through. And no amount of running will save you. I was lying in bed, nodding off to sleep, when I rolled over and saw someone standing in the corner of my room. He didn't even bother trying to hide himself. He just stood there, staring at me. It was too dark to make out a face, but I know the figure of a man holding a knife when I see one. I was too scared to scream, so I just lay there in my bed, accepting my fate. He walked over, his boots on my carpet, breaking the already horrifying silence, and leaned down to smell my hair and caress my face. After a minute or two of it, He walked out of my room. I waited half an hour to get up because I was too scared to even bat an eyelash. I called the cops, filed a report, and the man did not show up again. I had so many questions. Was this just a random thing? Did I have a stalker? Am I a murder or sexual abuse target? I went to the police station again the next week in hopes of finding out more, thinking of the atrocities that could be my fate. An officer saw me crying and came over to hug me and console me. As he held me and let me cry into his shoulder, he softly whispered into my ear, "You smell different when you're awake." A girl got on the train one night. She sat down opposite this woman who was sat between two men. She was not too bothered about them, except the fact that the woman seemed to be staring at her, but she could not quite see because the woman had her hood up. At the next stop, a man got on the train and sat next to the girl. After about 5 minutes, the guy whispered to the girl, "Get off the next stop with me. It's important that you trust me." At the next stop, the girl got off the train with the man and watched the train speed by. The man then turned to the girl and said, "Thank God, I'm a doctor, and that woman was dead." 2 men beside her were holding her up. A 58-year-old man living alone in Japan started hearing strange noises at night and noticing things out of place in his house. He installed video cameras. Turns out a homeless woman who had been living in his attic and cupboards for almost a year in his house, undetected. It gets creepier. The way he found out about the woman was that he sat down in his living room to review the tapes and saw the woman climbing into a cupboard and closing the door. The cupboard was right next to where he was sitting. We all fear things, but can we say we have experienced true fear? For example, you are downstairs on your computer when the news comes on the TV. You sit and watch intently as the newscaster tells you the score of your favorite sporting events, and the average cutesy story followed by news on how the politicians have messed up. You're about to go to bed when the news comes back on. They're talking about riots caused by a mass breakout at the local prison. Murderers, rapists, and madmen are free and are roaming the town. You hear noises outside and duck down, then turn off the TV and computer, followed by all the lights as not to attract the attention of the people outside. You slowly make it up the stairs, moving quickly past your glass front door, and as you rush through the hall, you see the outlines of people slowly walking up your driveway. You hold your breath and sprint up the stairs, then run into your room, pull the curtains shut, and leap into bed and hide under the covers. You bury your head into the pillow and cry softly, hoping and praying that it will be over soon, reassuring yourself over and over. However, something unbeknownst to you is persistently nagging at your composure. You suddenly sit bolt right up as you hear something. Then at that exact moment, it dawns on you. The most horrific realization you can imagine. And you finally understand. You finally experience true fear. You did not lock the door.